So if I bicycle moderately, not until I'm in a sweat bath and looking at a watch. I'm not doing it to sweat. I'm doing it to get some balance in my body. Balance is one of the most important things you can get in your body. So bicycling is excellent for gaining balance alone, even if you just do it to keep your balance. I've bicycled all my life, by the way. If I miss a day, I don't feel good. A couple of miles to town and back, go to look at people down in the mall, see what's going on, women, children, men, vendors. You know, it's like a touch of life. It's a real town. In the modern American suburb, the mall is actually our town, where, since there's no towns left to speak of. It's as good a town as any. So anyway, bicycle, look around, push around, get some, yard time, go back to the prison of the computer and radio. But when it comes to pushing your body, I believe that many young men have it wrong, and they really push themselves too hard. They push and they push and they push, and they run for a certain amount of time. They look good, don't get me wrong. They're thin, they're lean, they're in good shape. But I'm not so sure that that is so good to sustain for a very long period of time in your life. Moderate, moderate, moderate. And all you got to do is talk to an orthopedic surgeon about it if you think I'm making this up. The joints will go from excessive pounding. The hips, the joints are going to be replaced early on from the running. So there are other less, what do they call it? There's a word, less impact kind of sports that you can practice. But it's the same with weightlifting. You don't have to crunch weights for 5 hours a day. I mean, unless you're let's say a Navy SEAL or something like that, or an Army Ranger or one of those. Of course, you want to be as hard as a rock. But I'm talking about the average person who wants to keep reasonably fit after the age of a certain age. That's all. You don't have to overdo it. That has been my philosophy. And thus far, it's worked for me. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I think that everyone has to come to their own ideas about what's going to work for them, and it comes back to the jumping in a cold lake. Now, maybe that's good shock therapy when you're young and it wakes you up. It's certainly invigorating. But I think after a certain age, if you leap into an ice-cold lake, you run the risk of a shock that could be fatal to your system. Things change, the body changes, people change, and you have to change with your age. You have to change with the ages as well. Nothing significant in what I just said at all, other than moderation and exercise is the best idea, and that Mark Twain got all of his exercise walking to the funerals of his more athletic friends. Savage. It is the Savage Nation. So we've got the town hall meetings blowing up in the faces of the demon cats, the demagogues, with D after their name. And they never saw anything like this. They went out to basically sell the Obamacare program that the president can't sell, and it blew up in their face. I should say blew up in their faces because most of them have at least two. You read all of these articles here. Ed Koch falling out of love with Barack Obama, and he says he's still a Democrat, and he's a wonderful guy, but he this and that, the health care plan, and what's wrong with it, and this, and that talks about fetching with his bypasses again. It's always about him and his illnesses, Koch. I'm mentioning it for example. But not one word in this article by Ed Koch, former mayor of New York, falling out of love with Barack Obama, not one word about tort reform, because he's a lawyer. Don't you understand what I'm saying to you, how you've been hoodwinked? Obama's a lawyer. Ed Koch is a lawyer. Everyone in the media is a lawyer or is run by a lawyer. So you never hear any discussion of tort reform. You could save $500 billion a year, according to conservative, or shall I say real estimates of those who really know, by eliminating these lawsuits and cutting back the cap to $250,000. Are you aware that Kathleen Sebelius, Obama's head of Health and Human Services, was herself the head of the Kansas Trial Lawyers Association from 1977 to 86? And as a result, doctors are practicing defensive medicine. And that is medicine practiced on the fear of legal liability rather than on a patient's interests. So people order CT scans, MRIs, ultrasounds, and they send them on to specialists for defensive reasons. The number is astounding. And healthcare spending could be $500 billion a year by one estimate, $200 billion by another estimate. And here's President Obama on June 15th to the AMA when he says, I want to be honest with you, I'm not advocating caps on malpractice awards, which I personally believe can be unfair to people who've been wrongfully harmed. So he's in the league with the American Trial Lawyers Association. So you take two of these ideas, which is you have to cap the lawsuits at $250,000 a claim. Number one, that's tort reform. And two, no free care for non-citizens. You want to treat them, they pay for it. You say, well, they can't pay for it. They certainly can. You can give them a discount, but make them pay for it. Right now, they get everything's for free. So a guy comes in, let's say he's illegal from Guatemala, or El Salvador, Nicaragua, Mexico, wherever. He knows he can have anything he wants for nothing, so he's going to ask for everything. Yet they're sending home $25 billion a year to their home countries at the very least. Why not make them pay for their medical care? When you're paying for it, why shouldn't they pay for it? Yet Ed Koch, Obama, Specter, Congressman Ding Dong in Michigan, whatever his name is, all in spectacle, none of them will touch the issue of tort reform or not giving gold-plated medical treatment for non-citizens. I will, which is why I am banned in Britain. 1-800-449-8255. Let's go to the callers. Paul in New York, WOR. Go ahead. You're on the Savage Nation.
Hey, Michael. What I'm talking about right now is how the current situation is working and how it doesn't work. My wife went in to a dermatologist to get medicine for eczema. She wanted to get Eladil. That's what they prescribed for her. But my company here, they will only give her medicine if it doesn't get to this level where they wanted to prescribe her Eladil, right, which is like $50 a tube.
All right, so the and the health plan doesn't pay for it?
No, they won't pay for it. They won't pay for Eladil. They'll pay for something lower than that costs less until they see it doesn't work, and then they'll give her the Eladil. And it's something silly. It's a topical cream. I mean, it means really little. So
what's your point? So why would you be willing to pay a $25 co-payment for every prescription, if need be, or if it's a prescription that costs over $100, would you be willing to pay something towards that cost?
No, but I'm saying.
No, I'm asking you something. If the healthcare reform package said that any prescription that costs more than $100, the person has to pay $20 for as co-payment, would you pay it?
That's what I pay now. That's less than what I pay now.
Okay, so you are making a co-payment.
Yes.
Okay, so even with a co-payment, you can't get the drug that you need?
No, I can't.
So what prevents you from taking that prescription to a pharmacy and filling it yourself?
Well, it's the difference between paying the cost of the drug and paying what they'll cover it, basically.
Yeah, but I'm saying you could go and pay for it yourself, right?
Yeah, sure. It's $50. $50 for the tube.
So go buy one and see if it works. How big is it? I mean, you're paying co-payment of how much now? You said more than $25. So what's the difference if you just took the RX and went and bought it for yourself?
Well, the problem is that, this works. And the prescription company.
Well, what about reining in the lawyers? What about my two ideas? Irrespective of whether you're a Democrat or not, that's your business. Why do we hear not one word about reining in lawsuits against doctors and hospitals? Why do we not hear one word about no more free medical care for non-citizens because we can't afford it? How come we don't hear this?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm raising the issues because I'm an independent. I'm not funded by anybody. I'm a man who can think clearly. And I'm telling you, those two things alone will save us $1 trillion a year. Thanks for the call. Good luck with the eczema. San Francisco, ding, ding. Dan, welcome to the Savage Nation from KNEW. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when you struck a chord when you were talking about the moderate exercise, and you're absolutely right. About a year and a half ago, in January of 2008, I was doing heavy squats, with my trainer.
Right.
And she noticed that my right eyelid was drooping, and I had ptosis and meiosis in my right eye. The right eyelid was drooping. My pupil was small. I called my doctor. He said, look, that's a serious condition. You got to get to the hospital right now.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I got to the emergency room, and later they gave me an MRI. And I had a carotid dissection. I mean, that, you know, I've all saw the move. When you're really pressing hard on doing heavy squats or any heavy movement, I was 40 at the time. And,
wow.
And I'll tell you what. Yeah, I mean, it blew out the inside of my right carotid artery.
Well, right, because your body can – look, it's common sense that when you strain your body – let's use old, simple terminology, not medical jargon, not big words. When you strain your body – you're putting pressure on internal organs. I mean, in common parlance, right? And some of those internal organs would include the vascular system. And so when you put extra pressure, internal pressure on your arterial system, your venous system, in other words, your vascular system, you're liable to break something, right, Dan?
Absolutely, and I did. I tore the inner lining in my right internal carotid artery, right?
So how did they, as immediate surgery saved you?